Hi, Critic of Creation here, and this is the second video about Islam and evolution in my series, Questioning Islam. There is a link for the original video in the description below, and I point this out because I have cut the first few minutes of the video out for the simple reason that its audio is quite poor quality. The only thing it does is provide the question for Abu Rahim Green's answer in regards to how Islam views evolution. So, on with the video.
Yeah. Okay. Brothers and sisters, I could actually easily give a whole lecture on this, okay? But obviously we don't have time. So very, very briefly, I want to say something to the Muslims actually first in regards to the theory of evolution. You know, I don't think it does us any credit, and it won't help you, to simply mock and make fun of the theory of evolution.
Yes, I agree. Now, I'm pretty confident that we are going to disagree exactly why that is the case, but my argument would be that the overwhelming amount of evidence in favour of it, making any other creationist theory seem impossible, means that if you do mock it, you are simply demonstrating that you don't actually have a feasible alternative with supported evidence.
I personally believe that the theory of evolution is a very powerful idea, and it's powerful because it's simple, and it does seem to explain some phenomena that we see and that can be observed in the world in which we live and in the fossil record and so on and so forth.
It is a very powerful idea, but that's because it has evidence. I wouldn't call the entirety of evolution simple, but I do understand what I think you mean here, in that the average person on the street can be taught about gradual change in a species in its environment. I think it would have been better to say that evolution can be easily explained to people, rather than it being simple, which it certainly isn't. But I do think this point has been brushed over quite quickly, almost dismissively, and that does concern me somewhat.
Right? Do Muslims believe in evolution? Well, I wouldn't say that it's a point of, certainly it's not a point of view or it's not a principle of our religion that we have to believe in the theory of evolution.
No one has to believe in the theory of evolution. Unlike religion, it's not actually based on anyone believing in it. However, if you are not going to believe in it, then I hope you have something like evidence to suggest a different hypothesis.
Right? Certainly not. So do we believe it in the sense that it's a dogmatic thing that we have to believe in? Certainly not. Right? However, Muslims by and large do believe that the scientific methodology as a methodology is a good and sound methodology.
Normally I would like to see a citation for a statement such as this, but the fact you're in a live Q&A session does excuse it. But it's good. People should follow the scientific method because it relies upon tests that can be repeated, examined, and results drawn from them and future results predicted. It doesn't rely on intuition, emotions, or personal feelings, all of which could influence its results, like religion does.
Okay? And that if science conclusively proves something to be true, that is not something as Muslims we can ignore. Now, many Muslims today would still argue that the theory of evolution is not conclusive.
It was going so well up until this point. I would argue that if science proves something to be totally true, then it's not just Muslims, but everyone who cannot ignore it. Let's, as an example, say that science proved beyond all doubt that we were created by an alien species as an experiment to see what happened. No one could ignore that. It might affect some people, and by this I mean theists generally, more than others, namely atheists, but no one could really ignore that in the sense that you are suggesting. Many Muslims may argue that the theory of evolution is not conclusive. Fine. Give me some evidence for another theory or hypothesis. Not simply, God did it. I'm starting to sound like a record on repeat here, but beliefs do not count as evidence or disprove other theories.
There are still many holes and discrepancies that have not been dealt with concerning this theory, and there is lack of evidence in order to fully say that we can really be sure that this theory has taken place.
There are two options here. Firstly, you are unaware that there are no holes in the theory, and the evidence we have, which is tremendous, is more than sufficient for us to say that evolution did and is taking place. If this is the case, then you need to address your lack of knowledge, which should be relatively easy to do so. The second option is that you are aware of this evidence and simply choose to ignore it because it conflicts with your religious beliefs. If you are being dishonest, then I very much doubt you care about the truth or evidence anyway, as you are so intent on supporting your predetermined ideas that you will continue to do so regardless of how little sense they actually make.
However, in spite of that, by and large, we could say that there is nothing that contradicts the idea that creatures could have or have evolved through small stages into the complex different organisms that we find in the world today.
Not could have, they did. They evolved into what we know today, and the fossil record demonstrates this. Literally.
There's nothing in principle that says we can't believe in that. Okay? In fact, the Quran teaches us how the human being is developed through stages of embryonic development. And those stages are different. Okay, so the stage of nutfa is different from the stage of alaq, which is different from the stage of mudgha, okay, which is different from the state in which we finally look like a human being. So Allah, in a sense, has developed us through distinct stages in our mother's wombs.
For anyone unaware, the terms that we use there are what the Quran uses to describe the stages of an embryo. This is not evolution though. These are the stages of growth from embryogenesis, when the sperm first fertilizes the egg, and so on. This is in no way or form evolution, which is gradual change to a species, not simply the growth of a member of that species, no matter how amazing that is.
So the idea of development through different distinct stages is not an impossibility. In fact, it's a reality that the Quran acknowledges in human embryonic development. So how about this idea applying to life in general? Well, it's certainly a possibility. However, I make a proviso.
It's not entirely clear what you mean by this statement, with its certainty being a possibility. It's not a possibility that animals go through a period of embryonic growth. That is a certainty, and that has been accepted long before evolution was ever proposed. If you are suggesting that evolution is certainly a possibility, then I'm afraid you are mistaken. It's not a possibility. It's as certain as we can ever be. Science does not say that something is certain, but it is proven beyond all reasonable doubt, and no one is able to provide a hypothesis or evidence that conflicts with it in any way. I feel that this statement is all a distraction, and the fact that you say there is a proviso worries me somewhat.
There are two things that we will say we cannot agree with. As Muslims, we can't believe that these processes are completely devoid from and separate from the power and the guidance of God. So if evolution has taken place, it's because God is the evolver. God is the one who is evolving the creation. In other words, we can't accept the premise that these are purely natural processes that don't have anything to do with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the knowledge of the Creator. So do we believe that God really randomly things evolved? No, we can't accept that.
Right, so here we are, the meat of the argument. This really confuses me. I don't agree with the pure creation idea because the amount of evidence that disproves it is overwhelming. But here we have the mix of the two, that any evolution is down to the Creator. Now, I don't understand why an all-powerful and all-knowing Creator would subject any of his creations to a process such as evolution. Not only has the natural world seen the extinction of countless species, estimated by some to be as high as 99%, but also, from a logical point of view, it makes no sense. If you are all-knowing, then the end result is already known. So wouldn't you just make the species that will survive in the form that they are currently in? To do so otherwise would just seem excessively pointless, unless, like science demonstrates, we evolved to our current form not due to creation or some divine plan, but just because we were successful as a species.
Secondly, I stick to although there are other opinions, but I don't agree with them, I stick to the orthodox opinion that God has created the human being miraculously. That Adam was created in a way that is miraculous, just as Jesus was created in a way that was miraculous. Jesus was created without a father, no father. God created Jesus miraculously in the womb of Mary, and God just needs to say be, and something is.
I knew that proviso would come back and bite me. I feel that everything up to this point has just been a trap to lure people in, saying that evolution could have happened and so forth. And although what you said was not without error, at no point did you outright say that evolution was wrong or a lie, and you even thought it appropriate to mention that many Muslims believe in the scientific method. But it has led to this point where you state that mankind was created by a god. There is literally no evidence that any of this is the case, that any religious theory about mankind's creation is truthful, and you go ahead and say it anyway, after criticising the theory of evolution for lack of evidence, proof, and ability to conclusively say it is the case.
So, Jesus was human. He was a human being. We don't believe that because God created him miraculously without a father, therefore God was his father. No. Okay? No, that doesn't follow. God just created Jesus without a father.
I'm not really sure what this is to do with evolution. It does raise questions, how you believe Jesus is a human if he has no father, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here. Considering what is written in most holy books, this is not the only thing that I think is extremely implausible and somewhat baffling.
Okay? Similarly, God created Adam without a mother or a father. Distinct from whatever processes were going on in the world at that time, God introduced Adam into the order of the world in a miraculous way.
Could you supply some evidence to support this, please?
So do we believe that human beings descended along with monkeys from a common primate? No, I don't believe that. Islam can accept that, and I stick with the orthodox position. Does that mean that there could not have been human-like creatures existing? That is certainly possible. Why not?
Credit where it's due, you didn't go down the "if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?" I often hear spouted. But your argument again is fundamentally flawed in that you offer no actual evidence to support it. Yes, there were human-like creatures who then went on to evolve into humans in some cases, as indicated by the fossil record. We can literally see this taking place over millions of years until the emergence of modern man, Homo sapiens, about 200,000 years ago, give or take. Perhaps the thing that underpins your entire argument is the fact that you say Islam cannot accept that. You are essentially saying that the truth, no matter how much evidence there is to support it, can and never will be accepted unless it lines up with your holy book.
Because what makes us different, actually as humans, there are some differences, but the most fundamental difference is that what makes us different from the animals is that we have the choice to submit to God or not. That's what makes us different.
I don't think that our ability to submit to a god is the only thing that makes us different to animals. I would propose that our advanced speech, through both physical means, such as the larynx, as well as our ability to accurately describe complex scenarios with words, make us different. Our ability to create complex tools, abstract thought, laws, society, art, poetry, and music, and blur the boundaries between them due to our large brains, all make us different from animals, to name just but a few. Yes, we do share some similarities with animals, and the fact that we have evolved from common ancestors, it would be extremely surprising if we didn't. I would also question this word, choice. While many people in free societies in the modern era do have a choice, there are still plenty of people who are unable to leave their religion for fear of being killed for apostasy. There is also the social pressures put on a group of people, even in the free world, to be part of a religion, and if raised from a young age and indoctrinated by parents, religious leaders, and the society as a whole, I would personally say that this is not a choice.
Not just some physiological things, right? Whether I have, I don't know how my arms are, or my legs are, or my nose is, or whatever. No. My fundamental thing that makes me human and that makes me different from the animals is that I can choose to submit to God or not. I can choose to believe in and obey and worship the Creator or not. That's what makes us different. Yeah? So I do believe, as the Quran teaches, and that's how I literally understand it, that God created Adam miraculously and God created Eve from Adam. Okay? But does that mean that evolution did not take place? Or no, it doesn't. Islam does not have anything to say about that definitively one way or the other, so it's certainly possible. So I hope that answers that question, and Allah knows best.
No, it really doesn't answer that question. Look, I'm going to have to say it here. You start off with the argument that the scientific method is good, but the theory of evolution has holes in it, which is untrue. But as you don't go into detail on this, I'm unable to refute that point in any significant way, other than to say I wasn't able to find anything recently that had brought the accuracy of the evolutionary theory into question, other than the usual tried and commonly used fallacies on creationist sites. You then go on to say that it is the word of the Quran that says Adam was created from nothing, and that evolution could not have taken place as mankind was made in the image of his creator. And then you finish by pointing out that the Quran has nothing to say on the matter one way or the other, which again is not surprising considering it was written long before the theory of evolution had been penned. Please do correct me if I'm wrong here, but you sound like you are not exactly sure what you are arguing. It strikes me that you understand evolution, and you understand that it must have happened, that the evidence is simply too compelling to dismiss, and on some level you know it to be a fact. But also, because it does not line up with your holy book and your own orthodox view of Islam, it somehow has to be false at the same time. I feel that if I had been in this audience and I'd asked this question or had wanted to know the answer, then I would have left a lot more confused than I originally started. This leaves me with the same taste in my mouth that a lot of Christian creationist videos do. At what point and how much evidence are you going to require before you start to accept that some of your holy book's teachings are incorrect? Surely it has to get to the point where you can no longer blindly accept the words written in there as the irrefutable truth when the excess amounts of evidence demonstrate it to be false. I don't know. As an atheist, I go where the truth takes me. I don't have a core set of beliefs that I have to adapt and change when science demonstrates something new. The closest I have is science, which by its very nature is self-correcting and willing to discard old results in favour of newer, more accurate conclusions. Please do let me know. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and a cheeky share if you'd like. Subscribe to me to keep abreast of all my future releases. And if you have any questions, queries or requests about this or any other subject, please comment below and I will try to get back to you. Until next time.